Country's biggest tugboat operator, Svitzer, says it will lock striking workers out of its terminals as a dispute over a new enterprise bargaining agreement turned nasty. Svitzer services 17 ports. They include Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, Adelaide, Fremantle, Port Kembla and Newcastle. Let's bring in here Paul Zalai, who is the Director for the Freight and Trade Alliance, which represents importers, exporters and stevedores. Always good to have you on the program, Paul. Just tell me about this dispute, because it really is no good for many of your members who are the stevedores, who are the importers and exporters.
Well, I'll have to correct you there up front, Ross. The stevedores aren't our members, but they are a critical part of the supply chain. Yeah, look, it's pretty basic, actually. We did have industrial action the last few years affecting individual stevedore operations around the country. But this is much bigger again. This is the actual tugboat operators. So with them out of action, we're not going to see containerised vessels coming into those ports that you said, or leaving. So that's going to, for the duration of the lockout, we're going to have severe impacts for our importers and exporters, not to mention other areas as well. Not that we represent the sector, but it will also affect some of the cruise lines and then other areas of bulk shipping as well, like even your bulk cement and potentially even fuel supply.
All right, so one aspect of this that strikes me is if I have got goods waiting to come into Australia right now and I need them pre-Christmas and they can't get into port, I'm clearly potentially going to be paying additional freight fees as a result of not being able to get them off those ships in a timely manner.
Yeah, look, you're spot on. So we're talking to our legal counsel now and looking at the implications for insurers and suppliers. I won't bore your listeners with all the technical details of it, but it doesn't look good. Just by way of example, one of the common clauses used by the Institute Cargo talks about specific exclusions, and I'm quoting, caused by strikers, lockout workmen, or perhaps taking part in labour disturbances, resulting from strikes, lockouts, labour disturbances, riots or civil commotion. So there might be, importers are going to have a good look at their insurance policies as well. And those that are reliant on these goods to perform particular services may have an out under force majeure clauses. But again, it's going to be a whole lot of technicalities. So I think the only winners out of this are going to be the legal fraternity trying to sort out the mess.
Okay, so Paul, to your knowledge, what has actually brought this to a head in this way, where really you've got a situation now where Svitzer is going to lock out its workers over an enterprise bargaining agreement? Why is it that they're so far apart?
Yeah, look, it's something we do our very best to stay out of the thick of the negotiations between the employers and the unions. Our focus is really on the economic impacts of it and trying to get business continuity, and that's our pure focus. But the protected industrial action has taken place over many years now, I think about 3 years. Svitzer are quoting that they've been impacted by up to 2,000 hours of protected industrial action. If you like, it's almost like death by 1,000 cuts. But again, the union played it quite cleverly, enough to cause pain for Svitzer without bringing the country to its knees. And because of that, there was an inability by different parties to introduce what they call a 424 application to the Fair Work Commission, which would have seen suspension of this and mediation. Now, our guess is that Svitzer have really taken this action now, which is a legal instrument, and it's really what we're calling the nuclear response. It's really incredibly drastic, but it probably will bring this ongoing saga to a head one way or another. So now I think we're well and truly going to have the threshold of this whole action having devastating economic impacts, and that will then allow an entity to make this 424 application, whether it'll be Svitzer themselves, whether it'll be a state or federal government or another party.
And so I've only got about 10 seconds, but quickly, is it going to disrupt Christmas, do you imagine, Paul?
Look, I imagine most of the big retailers probably already have their stock in place. So I don't think we'll use the line of no toys for Christmas, but it's going to affect other importers and exporters, especially when you consider we're going to have a Chinese New Year early in the new year. So manufacturing is going to be very slow out of China then, and the next couple of months have been critical for importers.
Yeah, Paul Zalai from the Freight and Trade Alliance. Always good to chat to you. Many thanks for your time today.